can
Okay.
start. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Text 35. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Ashamshayam Mahabhaho Mano Durnigraham Chalam Abhyasena tu Kaunteya Vairagena cha grahayate. Translation. Lord Sri Krishna said, O mighty armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment. Perfect. The difficulty of controlling the obstinate mind, and as expressed by Arjuna, is accepted by the personality of Godhead. But at the same time, he suggests that by practice and detachment, it is possible. What is that practice? In the present age, no one can observe the strict rules and regulations of placing oneself in sacred place, focusing the mind on the super soul, restraining the senses and mind, observing celibacy, remaining alone, etc. By the practice of Krishna consciousness, however, one engages in 9 types of devotional service to the Lord. The first and the foremost of such devotional engagement is hearing about Krishna. This is a very powerful transcendental method for purging the mind of all misgivings. The more one hears about Krishna, the more one becomes enlightened and detached from everything that draws mind away from Krishna. By detaching the mind from activities not devoted to the Lord, one can very easily learn Vairagya. Vairagya means detachment from matter and engagement of the mind in spirit. Impersonal spiritual detachment is more difficult than attaching the mind to the activities of Krishna. This is practical because by hearing about Krishna, one becomes automatically attached to the Supreme Spirit. This attachment is called par- Parishanubhava, spiritual satisfaction. It is just like the feeling of satisfaction a hungry man has for every morsel of food he eats. The more one eats while hungry, the more one feels satisfaction and strength. Similarly, by discharge of devotional service, one feels transcendental satisfaction as the mind becomes detached from the material objective. It is something like curing a disease by expert treatment and appropriate diet. Hearing of the transcendental activities of Lord Krishna is therefore expert treatment for the mad mind, and eating the foodstuff offered to Krishna is the appropriate diet for the suffering of the patient, for the suffering patient. This treatment is the process of Krishna consciousness.
Okay. So yesterday we heard Arjuna saying, Krishna, the process you're saying is impractical because the mind is very unsteady, very turbulent, right? So more
Yes.
difficult to control the mind than the wind, says Arjuna. Means he said, I can control the wind, but I can't control the mind. So now what is Krishna saying in this verse?
We we can control by practice and by detachment.
Actually, Deepika, your voice is breaking a lot. I'm not sure, is it only me or for others also?
Possibly mine because my home Wi-Fi is not good. I think maybe,
Okay.
yeah, maybe somebody else can also join in to reply. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Can you
Krishna. In
hear
fact,
me?
now what you
Yeah.
spoke, yeah, now what you spoke was quite clear, but
Oh,
before
is
was
it?
not.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, okay. Okay, let me
Okay.
try again. I was like, yeah, Lord Krishna suggests that we can control our mind by practice and detachment.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, what is that practice? What is Srila Prabhupada telling us? What is that practice?
Hearing from scriptures about Krishna,
Yeah.
and yeah, and gradually
Yeah.
one can be detached. I'm remembering what you said yesterday or day before, maybe in Bhagavatam also. Something like
Mm-hmm.
how gradually one gets uplifted by reading from scriptures. Gradually the
Yeah.
mind gets cleansed,
Yeah.
and then we come to Gradually, we come to that stage of renunciation and just do devotional service completely. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Mm,
So it is
mm,
by hearing.
yeah.
Okay, so in this verse, also Prabhupada is mentioning Vairagya. What is Vairagya he mentions?
Vairagya means detachment from matter and engagement of mind in spirit.
Yeah. So then, how can we practically do it? We are saying detach from matter and engage mind and spirit. But what's a practical way of doing it? Because just by doing some mental adjustment of the mind, it's difficult to come to this platform, right? We are still going to
Hearing
use
and chanting.
matter. Yeah, hearing and chanting. That's right. Yeah. So we can see that just by some mental adjustment, we may have some kind of mental adjustment, but we can't actually get detached from matter. It's very difficult. Very, very difficult. It may take lifetimes and lifetimes. But by hearing and chanting, in this life itself, one can gradually get detached from matter and get attached to Krishna. Because the mind needs some attachment. The mind is going to think of something. The mind can't be empty. So we have to remove it from this attachment of matter and attach to Krishna. That's the appropriate treatment. Okay. And of course, Prabhupada mentions here diet. So, diet of having Krishna Prasad. All right, we'll go on. Any comments or questions?
Yeah, today afternoon we were reading Bhagavad Gita also, and this is wonderfully, coming in the same context, expert treatment. I remember the word we heard. I forgot what verse we were reading this afternoon. We finished with it. It also said the same, very beautiful verse, very beautiful. It said the same thing. Krishna was explaining the same thing, yoga and the art of living. Yoga is very important. So
2.50. It was
yeah,
2.50.
correct. Yeah, it was 2.50. Beautiful verse. And this is the same thing he was saying there also. Uh, having expert treatment, intelligently applying, what we are learning from the scriptures to our life.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, yeah.
Wonderful.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, Hare Krishna. We'll go on to the next one,
Yes.
Okay, I can read.
please.
Asam asmayat atmana yogo dusparap iti me mati vashyatmana tu yatata shakyo vaptum upayata. Translation: for one whose mind is unbridled, self-realization is difficult work. But he whose mind is controlled and who strives by appropriate means is assured of success. That is my opinion. Purport: the Supreme Personality of Godhead declares that one who does not accept the proper treatment to detach the mind from material engagement can hardly achieve success in self realization. Trying to practice yoga while engaging the mind in material enjoyment is like trying to ignite a fire while pouring water on it. Yoga practice without mental control is a waste of time. Such a show of yoga may be materially lucrative, but it is useless as far as spiritual realization is concerned. Therefore, one must control the mind by engaging it constantly in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Unless one is engaged in Krishna consciousness, he cannot steadily control the mind. A Krishna conscious person easily achieves the result of yoga practice without separate endeavor, but a yoga practitioner cannot achieve success without becoming Krishna conscious.
Mhm. So what happens if one does not control the mind? What happens? What is Krishna saying?
If one does not control the mind, then it will be like uh, fa- falling back to the same place.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
difficult to get self-realization, spiritual realization. He's saying you can't get. He's saying it's very difficult to get self-realization if you don't control your mind. So somebody who's actually looking for self-realization means mind control is so important. Yeah. And, so we can see so many verses Krishna is being saying, control the mind, control the mind. So we have to be mindful what is going on in our mind. And we have to be mindful to take out the weeds. And here Prabhupada is saying how to control the mind automatically. How to control it? By engaging it in,
Krishna consciousness.
yeah, devotional service. And one is engaging in devotional service, so the mind is occupied, right? See, the mind needs some matter to think about. So what are we allowing the mind to think? It's going to think about it's going to think about matter or Krishna. So when we are engaging in devotional service, and automatically the mind is going to be occupied. Oh, I have to do this service, that service, and all of it is for pleasure of Krishna. So it purifies the mind, it helps to control the mind. But when we are thinking of matter, then the mind is uncontrolled. Okay. So we'll go on to the next one.
Yeah. Text 37.
Hare
Arjuna
Krishna.
Uvacha.
I
Hare
just
Hare
have
Krishna.
one
Krishna.
question. I
Yes,
just
ma'am.
have one question.
Yeah.
Shilpa was saying that, so this is, we are still talking about the yogi, right? Now, the yogi, what problems will be there when he's not able to control his mind, right?
Yeah. So for any yogi though, for any
Yeah, for
yogi.
any yogi. So we are just
Yeah.
reading. We're still in the continuation of the yogi, that how he's going to face the difficulties and what will happen if he's not able to control the mind. So Arjuna is asking Krishna about this, right? That Krishna is
Yeah.
telling him in this context, right?
Yeah. Because
Yeah,
even
okay.
even for a bhakti yogi, mind
Hmm,
control, sense control is important.
hmm.
It's not bhakti directly, but it's like a doorway to bhakti.
Bhakti, yes.
So the
And then
mind
even
has
Arjuna
to be
was
controlled.
telling,
Huh?
okay, okay. And then even Arjuna must be, because it was, even then it was very difficult to control the mind. So for us, it would be obviously very, very difficult.
Yeah, it's so difficult to
Okay.
detach the mind from matter. It's
Hmm,
not easy, right? So then
hmm,
what is a practical method that actually we can do it? Because otherwise it's like for an average common person, it is so difficult, practically impossible to
hmm,
to divert the mind from, detach the mind from matter. And
hmm,
there is, because the mind needs some kind of thoughts, it needs some kind of attachment. So
hmm.
the practical is get it. Engage in devotional service and in
Devotion.
this way get attached to Krishna.
Yeah,
Because
thank
actually there can never be detachment for the soul. The soul
you. Hmm,
always has attachment. Always there'll be some desire.
hmm,
Cannot be desireless. But when the desire is to engage in devotional service, to serve Krishna, to please Krishna, that's a spiritual desire then.
hmm. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah,
Thank
okay,
you.
okay. Okay, thank you.
Hallelujah.
Please.
Arjuna Uvacha Ayate Shraddhaya Yogeto Yoja Chalita Manasaha Aprapaya Yoga Samsiddhim Tam Gatim Krishna Gacchati. Translation. Arjuna said, O Krishna, what is the destination of the unsuccessful transcendentalist, who in the beginning takes to the process of self realization with faith, but who later desists due to world mindedness and thus does not attain perfection in mysticism? Purport. The path of self realization or mysticism is described in the Bhagavad Gita. The basic principle of self realization is knowledge that the living entity is not this material body, but that he is different from it and that his happiness is in eternal life, bliss, and knowledge. These are transcendental beyond both body and mind. Self realization is sought by the path of knowledge, by the practice of the Eightfold System, or by Bhakti Yoga. In each of these processes, one has to realize the constitutional position of the living entity, his relationship with God, and the activities whereby he can re establish the lost link and achieve the highest perfectional stage of Krishna consciousness. Following any of the above mentioned three methods, one is sure to reach the supreme goal sooner or later. This was asserted by the Lord in the second chapter. Even a little endeavor on the transcendental path offers a great hope for deliverance. Out of these three methods, the path of Bhakti Yoga is especially suitable for this age because it is the most direct method of God realization. To be doubly assured, Arjuna is asking Lord Krishna to confirm his former statement. One may sincerely accept the path of self realization, but the process of cultivation of knowledge and the practice of the Eightfold Yoga system are generally very difficult for this age. Therefore, despite constant endeavor, one may fail for many reasons. First of all, one may not be sufficiently serious about following the process. To pursue the transcendental path is more or less to declare war on the illusory energy. Consequently, whenever a person tries to escape the clutches of the illusory energy, she tries to defeat the practitioner by various allurements. A conditioned soul is already allured by the modes of material energy, and there is every chance of being allured again, even while performing transcendental disciplines. This is called yoga chalita manasa, deviation from the transcendental path. Arjuna is inquisitive to know the results of deviation from the path of self realization.
So what do we understand from this verse? What is Arjuna asking?
That if one gets lost in the path, of,
Yeah,
so he's asking, Arjuna is asking
that one may not.
that if he deviates,
Yeah,
sorry,
I'm sorry.
yeah, if he deviates from the path of self realization, what is he supposed to do?
Yeah, and what is the destination? What happens to him? Arjuna is saying that if one does not complete his self-realization in this one life, what happens? So also here Prabhupada is explaining what is self-realization actually. What is it?
That the living entity is not the not material body,
Yeah, not the material body.
and its
And
happiness is also in the internal life.
yeah, and that every living entity has a relationship with God. Mm. And so there needs to be some activity that how we can revive this relationship. There has to be some way to revive the relationship, right? Just like suppose we have a loving relationship with someone, but now for many years it's lost the relationship, but we want to revive it. So we are going to do something how are we going to reach out to the person, or what steps or what actions we are going to take. So similarly, we have a relationship with God, and there's some processes which needs to be done to revive this relationship. And what are the 3 ways the self-realization can be achieved?
Knowledge.
Knowledge is one, yeah. That's the
Yeah.
Gyan path.
Dhyan.
Yoga and
Yoga,
bhakti yoga.
yeah, Dhyan,
Bhakti
yoga,
yoga.
and bhakti, yeah.
Eightfold
So
is
by these
Ashtanga yoga.
3, eightfold, yeah,
Eight
Ashtanga, yes,
Ashtanga, okay.
yeah, Ashtanga yoga. So it's either by Gyan, knowledge, then the Ashtanga yoga system, or by bhakti yoga. So bhakti yoga, so which is the most direct?
Bhakti.
Bhakti yoga.
Bhakti yoga.
Yeah, bhakti yoga, because immediately we are said, okay, this is God. Krishna is God. Engage in loving service, hear about him, chant about him. Revive your relationship immediately. So it's the most direct. Um, okay. Also, we are recommended this path, especially in this age, because our lives are very short, and our attention span, I'm sure you all would have noticed how much of attention span do we actually have. So, yeah. And also what happens, direct path to take, because one may get, if we take the indirect, then we may get distracted, right? Just like you want to go to the 101 tower, rooftop. So 2 ways, take the elevator or take the stairs. Both ways for sure one is going to reach. Elevator is the direct one. You can reach in the fastest way with the least effort. If one takes the stairs, sure one will reach, but there's a danger that one may stop, one may see it so troublesome, climb a few floors and say, oh my God, it's so troublesome, I don't want to go there anymore. Go down or get distracted. Okay, let me just stay here for some time. This is a nice floor in itself. Why should I go to the rooftop? I can just be happy on this floor. So different things may happen. So that's a direct process. Take the elevator, take bhakti directly for self-realization. It's the fastest and the surest way. Okay. Any comments, questions? If no, then we can go to the next one.
No, nothing as such.
Okay. All right, Neha, you want to read the next one?
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Kachit na no bhaya vibrasya छिन्नाभिमृनश्यति अप्रतिष्ठो महाभावो विमूढ़ा brahmana pati. Translation. O mighty armed Krishna, does not such a man who is bewildered from the path of transcendence fall away from both spiritual and material success and perish like a riven cloud with no position in any sphere? Purport. There are 2 ways to progress. Those who are materialist have no interest in transcendence. Therefore, they are more interested in material advancement by the economic development or in promotion to the higher planets by appropriate work. When one takes to the path of transcendence, one has to cease all material activities and sacrifice all forms of so called material happiness. If the aspiring transcendentalist fails, then he apparently loses both ways. In other words, he can enjoy neither material happiness nor spiritual success. He has no position. He is like a riven cloud. a cloud in the sky sometimes deviates from a small cloud and joins a big one. But if it cannot join a big one, then it is blown away by the wind and becomes a nonentity in the vast sky. The Brahmana path is the path of the transcendental realization through knowing oneself to be spiritual in the essence, part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, who is manifested as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Lord Sri Krishna is the fullest manifestation of the Supreme Absolute Truth, and therefore one who is surrendered to the Supreme Person is a successful transcendentalist. To reach this goal of life through Brahman and Paramatma, realization takes many, many births. Hahunam Janmanam Anshe. Therefore, the supermost path of transcendental realization is Bhakti Yoga or Krishna conscious, the direct method.
What is Arjuna asking again in this verse?
So Arjuna is asking that what happens to such a man who is not able to complete, who falls away, who deviates from this path. What happens to him, Krishna?
Yeah, he's like thinking
And
that, what's the
is he
example he's giving?
he's giving the example of the cloud, like how,
Mm,
like does he perish like a cloud, or what is his position? What happens to him?
yeah,
Or does he fall from the spiritual and the material success both?
yeah, yeah. Because he's taken time to engage in spirituality, so he couldn't he couldn't advance materially. So Arjuna is saying, hey, then he's losing out. Is it
Mm.
that because he's not able to finish his spiritual life, so he's losing out both materially and spiritually? That's his question. Because usually in material life, that's what happens, right? If we till we don't complete it, till we don't complete whatever 15 years or whatever of education, can't get the undergraduate degree, and then in next life again have to start from the very beginning, even though one may have done PhD in this life, again next life have to start from ABC. So then Arjuna is asking, you know what happens in spiritual life? Prabhupada is explaining in the purport that um, if one is the transcendentalist who's trying by the path of Dhyan Yoga, that's Ashtanga Yoga or Gyan. For him, it may take many, many births and deaths, as Krishna himself is saying in 7th chapter. After many, many births and deaths, one who's taken to this path, it may take him a long time to come to Krishna. So surely there is a gradual elevation of consciousness, but the time required and the endeavor required is too much. So one may actually not have that much determination to follow through. But whereas bhakti is, since it's direct, it's faster, it's easier to get
And it's carry
self-realization.
forward, and
Yeah,
like
it
it's never
always
lost.
carries forward. Yeah, never
Yeah, it's not
lost.
lost.
Can always carry forward. So you're gonna hear what Krishna says in reply to this tomorrow. This is Arjuna's doubt. We'll hear what Krishna says then. Any questions, comments?
This verse also reminds me what we heard in Bhagavatam again. I think yesterday or day before, you mentioned about some materialists who come into uh, the path of transcendence abruptly. Then the modes of nature also act, and they may also fall.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
gradual process, of course, because the modes are so strong.
Yeah.
So it's gradual. So even though one So still, comparatively, comparing the three processes, still bhakti process is the fastest and the easiest, because the modes are so strong, right? And so one may again get taken away by material desires, but because one has taken shelter of Krishna, Krishna does not forget such a person. And then Krishna will make the arrangements for one to actually follow through, actually get self-realized. Of course, we put in the endeavor, like mercy and endeavor, Damodar Leela, right? Mercy, endeavor, and then we get the mercy. So once one who's putting the endeavor for bhakti, he gets the protection of Krishna. So he's not alone in this process. Whereas in Dhyan and Gyan, one is alone. He's just depending on his own determination. So for sure, he will also reach if he's determined enough, but it may take him a very, very long time. Okay. Shall we stop here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila
Jai,
Prabhupada
Jai.
ki jai, Gaur
Jai.
Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you so